So, like, I find my 500-year-old head while I'm taking a trip into a cave.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get sent back in time to the point where the head came from. Then I get blown up. My body gets transported into the future. And somebody puts my now 500-year-old head back on me. It was only ever the same head.
It's not possible. You can only have one head. It just doesn't make sense.
I only ever had one head.
No. The head was in two places at the same time. How would future Data have a head if he lost it 500 years ago?
Because he took the 500-year-old head that he found in the future and put it back on his now headless body.
Right, so now in the future he's wearing a 500-year-old head, but there's still a head in the past. Two heads.
That's because that head came from his past self that didn't get blown up yet.
No, so see, that's my point. There's two heads and that's not possible. So time would have to correct itself, and one of the heads would have to be erased.
No. Because the continuity of the timeline...
No.
You can't just say no.
I just explained it to you. There's two heads. We got that far, and you've been arguing the whole time that there's not two heads, but I just proved to you that there was.
That's because the timeline of the two heads overlapped one another briefly.
Then time would have to correct itself. So at the end of the episode, there were two heads. They put the 500-year-old head on him, and he left a head behind. That's two, and that's not possible.
His past self left the 500-year-old head. But his past self...
He would have had to get a new head at some point for this to work.
No.
Bullshit.
He puts his...
I can tell that you feel that you've changed your tune.
No.
Yep. I can see it in your facial expression.
Let's say I'm drinking
this... I can see it in your head.
No. Let's say I'm drinking this glass of water.
Glass of water. Look, you drank the water. The water's gone now. That drink you just took, there's not two drinks. You took it all. It's gone.
I'm not trying to be silly here with this. I'm trying to make a point.
That is the point. Once it's in the past, it's gone.
No.
You can only
How would it be gone if it went to the past? Okay, let's say you and I are on a spaceship. And we go to Earth and go in this deep-ass cave.
Stop retelling the
I'm drinking a glass of water. It's this one with the shit printed on it. And then we go in the cave, which hasn't been disturbed in 500 years. And you're like, oh my stars, Dan, that's that same cup that you got. And we do tests on it, and we find that it indeed is not a similar cup. It's the same fucking cup.
That's not possible.
Yet here I am, drinking this cup, and there's the one 500 years ago, and we go, gosh, that's queer. How could that be?
Exactly. How could it be? Because that means that there's two cups at the same time.
No.
Not the same.
A half hour later, some shit happens, and I get sent back 500 years in the past, still holding my glass of water. And then I set it down in that cave, and then some more shit happens, and I get sent back to the future without my fucking glass. And then I continue to hold the now 500-year-old glass. From that moment forward, there's not two glasses. It's the same glass.
It's two glasses in the beginning of your story. You had one that you were drinking out of while you went into the cave and found the old one. That's two motherfucking glasses.
But they were the same glass.
Not possible. You can't have two of the
because
same thing.
Because there was two in the future, not two originally.
No.
What part of this aren't you getting?
What part are you not getting? kidding. You're proving your own fucking self wrong.
No,
Repeatedly.
I proved myself right.
I can't. No.
I see that you can't. But it is possible.
No, it's not. You have both, every example you've given here, you've proven that there's two items instead of the same item.
It's not the same. It's not different. It's just two of them. It's kind of like in Back to the Future. There were parts where Marty went back and saw himself fucking around and doing whatever. And that in the Back to the Future 2, where he's climbing over the catwalk and then his self is down there playing the guitar. We weren't like, oh my God, how could there be two Martys? No, that was just his other self from a different timeline.
No, the timeline would have to correct itself.
It does, because there's only ever one glass. And some shit happens to be like, explain why there was a 500-year-old head.
There are two heads. He left one in the past laying on the ground, and he was wearing the other one in the future. At the end of the episode.
Okay. Pre-headless Data. Data with his original head.
Ridiculous.
Discovers that there's this old head. And he says, gosh, how could this be? And then, let's say the episode never happened and they just tell him the story. Well, Data, in the near future, you're going to lose that head after you get sent back in time. And then the head's just going to kind of catch up to you. And that's how there's two. What? And then he's like, how did that be? How could that be? And like, you haven't been sent back in time yet.
Just because you keep telling the same exact story repeatedly, it's not making it any different.
It makes sense.
It does not. You're just repeating the same thing over and over again, like an endless loop. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, what would have to happen for it to make sense?
There would have to be one head.
There is one head.
Or timeline would have to correct itself.
What does correct itself mean?
Like there couldn't have been a head left behind if he's wearing the head at the end of the episode.
He's wearing his now 500-year-old head.
It's just not possible.
I'm going to say it's very unlikely that it happened. But hypothetically possible.
It's not.
Vivian, can you come over here and sit down a minute?
It don't make no sense.
Yes.
Okay. Viv,
Yeah.
let's say you have a pet lizard.
It's not a lizard.
And then you go down in your basement and you find a 500-year-old lizard. And it would seem like there's two, but then future you travels back in time and loses a lizard. And then you travel back forward in time without the lizard, only to reclaim your now 500-year-old lizard.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
See, Joyce, it makes sense.
It makes sense!
Winner.